and welcome to Leadership in the 21st Century. What is it and what is it not? This is the first lesson, which is entitled Why Should Leaders Dare Greatly? The following objectives have been set for this lesson. Define and reframe the concept of leadership. Identify what leadership actually implies. Get familiar with and apply the rule of the golden circle and practice daring leadership. The first thing, however, I'd like you to do is to stop the video a bit and to write down your own understanding of leadership. Next, I'd like you to run a quick search, internet search, and look for the definitions that you can find there. While trying to get a better understanding of how leadership is viewed at present, it's a rather good idea to start with a quick search of the most common definitions and compare them with your own understanding of what leadership is. See how many things coincide. What about the things that don't coincide? Do you agree or disagree with that? Why? When I compared and contrasted the definitions I came across, I noticed that each described leadership from a particular angle. What they all had in common was the parties involved in leadership. So there is a team, an organization, or a company consisting of a person who is in charge, who leads, that is the leader, and those who are led, the other people in that team or organization or company. Yet, when it comes to what the leader does, here is where the words started to differ. So the leaders are expected to guide, influence, motivate, organize, direct, help, and promote a group of people in order to achieve a common goal. It was also interesting to know that some would refer to leadership as an ability, others as a process, and then there were those who saw it as an art. One definition even referred to it as an influential power relationship between one party using their power over a group of people to achieve that common goal. I'd like to emphasize using the power over. What about you? What do you think? Is leadership an ability, a process, or an art? And what does the emphasis on power relationship make you feel? One might think that having a common goal might be enough for diverse people to come together and work hard to realize it. Yet, there is still the need for someone to lead. So leadership is all about the person who leads, as the success of an enterprise depends on their ability to create in people the sense of connection and belonging that will inspire them to follow their leader and work hard to achieve the common goal. It is also true that much power is concentrated in the hands of the leader. Therefore, they should use it wisely and responsibly. Holding more power means holding more responsibility. It's not about bossing around and expecting people to do whatever you tell them to do without any objections whatsoever. In his book Start With Why, Simon Sineck emphasizes the importance of a leader to inspire people to act. In the author's words, those who are able to inspire will create a following of people, supporters, voters, customers, workers, who act for the good of the whole, but not because they have to, but because they want to. Now, what shall you do in order to inspire people? That would be the question. Let's try to find it out. What I'd like to mention from the very start is that there are numerous classifications of leadership styles. It was Kurt Lewin and his team in the 1930s to first identify three main styles. Autocratic, also known as authoritarian, when you tell people what to do and expect them to execute that without any objections. Democratic, also known as participative, when you involve people in the decision-making process, thus sharing your power with them. And finally, delegative or laissez-faire, when you let people make decisions without interfering. Although autocratic leadership can still be preferred by some leaders, this approach can eventually backfire because people will never feel as if they belong to the group where an autocratic leader is in charge. They will find it rather difficult to relate to the goal of the organization and will not put enough effort for the company to succeed. They might not even care. I am not saying that this approach is totally wrong. There are extreme situations when the leader should demonstrate the ability to take decisions fast and with confidence in order to instill a sense of security in the team. This is particularly true in times of crisis. However, a leader would still like to have a motivated staff who will contribute with their ideas to the common goal. This is why a leader should look for ways to involve people in the decision-making process. It helps create in them a sense of belonging and connectedness and makes them work for the common goal highly motivated. Such an approach is democratic and creates the idea of shared power. Delegative leadership implies that the leader lets the workers do the job by themselves with little involvement from his or her part in the decision-making process. Research, however, has shown that such leadership can result in low productivity. People are basically left to their own devices and they might end up feeling disconnected within their own group. So this is the basic classification. Nowadays, if you run a quick internet search, you are bound to find many others. There can be 4, 5, 6, even 10 leadership styles. But how relevant is it at present? We have already seen that the basic three leadership styles as defined by Kurt Lewin and his team do not seem to offer a concrete answer to the question, what is the best leadership style? What a leader should do at present is to find their own way of inspiring others to act. In doing so, they should look for the qualities of great leaders and develop the characteristic abilities and behaviors that will help them to motivate their team. What they will definitely have to do is to show flexibility and adapt to the concrete situation they are facing. As previously stated, in times of crisis, they might take over the control and be more autocratic. However, when creativity is to be sought, they should be more democratic and encourage people to participate in the decision-making process. This will also allow them to spot their own blind spots they might not even be aware of. Simon Sineck argues that good leadership starts when the team has a clear purpose why they are doing that work. That is, they are inspired and not manipulated to do that work. He developed the golden circle model, which starts from the inside out, that it starts from the inner circle consisting of why, then followed by the middle circle consisting of how, and finally the outer circle consisting of what. In his words, why stands for the core belief shared by an organization. It is this belief that will motivate the people to work in that organization on the one hand and will motivate the clients to buy the products on the other. However, having a well-defined why is not enough, although it is vital. The organization should know how it is going to realize that belief, that is the concrete actions they are going to take or on the way. Finally, what stands for the results of those actions, which eventually result in the profit of the company. In Sineck's opinion, it is totally wrong to start from the outside of the circle and move inward. Otherwise said, it is wrong to start with what? That is, think about the success or money the company would get. He states that people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. A failure to communicate why creates nothing but stress and doubt. In his books, he offers a series of examples when starting with what led to disaster. Probably the most interesting example was the one of the Wright brothers and the American aviation pioneers who are credited with inventing, building, and flying the world's first successful motor-operated airplane. However, there was another notable figure at the time wanting to create a motor-operated airplane as well. This was Samuel Langley. Unlike the Wright brothers, who were driven by their passion to invent and make a change in the world, Langley was primarily driven by his desire to be first, rich, and famous. So he was driven by what he was going to do and what he was going to get out of that. Although he was funded by the government and managed to get some of the brightest minds of the time to work for him, he didn't succeed. The Wright brothers, on the other hand, were passionate about their belief. They wanted to make a change, and that was what helped them inspire other people to work for them. At the end, they were the ones to succeed. Thus, a good leader should have a clear sense of why in order to inspire the team to act. Although it is true that the ability to communicate the core belief to the team is essential in the process of leading, this may not be enough. It definitely helps build the culture of the organization where absolutely every employee will share the same set of values and beliefs. However, good leadership also implies helping the employees realize their potential. Brene Brown defines a leader as anyone who takes responsibility for finding the potential in people and processes and who has the courage to develop that potential. Such a leader will be able to inspire their team by creating a sense of belonging at work. They will earn the trust of the team. The purpose of a leader is not to impress their team, but to let the team know that the leader is there to serve them. Respectively, the team will do their work because they want to, not because they have to. Brene Brown calls for another type of leadership, in which leaders have the courage, as she says, to rumble with vulnerability. She wants leaders to be committed to courageous, wholehearted leadership and to be self-aware, to lead from their hearts and not from hurt and fear. In her opinion, vulnerability is not weakness, but strength, and leaders must either invest a reasonable amount of time attending to fears and feelings, or squander an unreasonable amount of time trying to manage ineffective and unproductive behavior. In her book, Dare to Lead, she enumerates 10 major causes leaders identified as hindering the success of their organizations. They are: number 1, avoidance of tough conversations, including honest and productive feedback. Number 2, avoidance of acknowledging and addressing fears and feelings in difficult times. Number 3, avoidance of taking risks. Number 4, diminishing trust. Number 5, people's tendency to define themselves in terms of their setbacks, failure, and disappointments. Number 6, people's feelings of shame and blame. Number 7, fear of looking wrong, saying something wrong, or being wrong. Number 8, avoidance of problem identification and rush into ineffective solutions. Number 9, people's why is not translated into how they should realize that goal. So no clear objectives have been set for them. And finally, number 10, perfectionism. All these causes actually armor the people and create a sense of disconnection. Therefore, leaders should have the courage to lean into vulnerability by setting healthy boundaries. That will contribute to the psychological safety of the company, which includes such behaviors as listening, staying curious, being honest, keeping confidence, trusting, and respecting one another. In Brene Brown's opinion, leaders should apply an approach she calls daring leadership, which consists of number 1, modeling and encouraging healthy striving, empathy, and self-compassion. This will definitely exclude perfectionism. Number 2, practicing gratitude and celebrating milestones and victories. This contributes to employee engagement, satisfaction, and definitely retention. Number 3, setting boundaries and finding real comfort. So instead of numbing an uncomfortable feeling, employees should be encouraged to acknowledge it and getting to its actual cause. In this way, resentment will be excluded. Number 4, practicing integration strong back, soft front, wild heart. The act of bringing together all the parts of ourselves, that is, all our strengths, and acknowledging the weak points. Number 5, being a learner and getting it right. Cultivate having continuous learners rather than knowers. It's far more productive to have people asking the right questions than coming up with quick answers. Number 6, modeling clarity, kindness, and hope. That will eliminate cynicism. Number 7, making contributions and taking risks. Encourage people to have honest discussions and rumble with vulnerability. Number 8, using power with the power to and power within. By empowering your employees, you'll build more trust and confidence. Keeping our value. Help people understand why they are there and why they are important. Number 10, cultivating commitment and shared purpose. Avoid compliance leadership, as people should share the commitment to purpose and mission, not to be afraid, not to. Number 11, acknowledging, naming, and normalizing collective fear and uncertainty. In the midst of uncertainty and fear, leaders have an ethical responsibility to hold their people in discomfort, to acknowledge the tumult but not fan it, to share information with the team. Number 12, modeling and supporting rest, play, and recovery. It will only help the brain to cool down. Number 13, cultivating a culture of belonging, inclusivity, and diverse perspective. Avoid favoritism. Number 14, giving gold stars. Instead of seeking to be rewarded as a leader, reward your team. Remember, you are there to serve them, not the other way around. Besides, you have already gotten your golden stars. That's why you ended up in that position. Number 15, straight talking and taking action. Encourage the people in your team to speak up the truth and avoid zigzagging. Finally, number 16, leading from the heart. Avoid being seen as important at work by taking credit for ideas that aren't yours. Don't stay in comparison mode and don't pretend to know. Instead, stay curious and learn. So that's it. Let's see what would be some lesson takeaways. Probably leadership is the ability of a leader to inspire employees to act to achieve a common goal. Then there is no one leadership style that can contribute to the success of a company. Instead, the leader should be flexible and act taking into account the people and the situations they are in. A good leader should be able to communicate to their employees why their work is important. People will not be much inspired by what they are doing if they don't have a well-defined purpose. A great leader should encourage honest conversations and lean into vulnerability. Daring leadership can create connection and a sense of belonging within an organization, which will result in an increase in productivity. People will be motivated to work in that organization and won't want to leave it.